The calendar has flipped to January, and this past week, the Continental Division saw 5 of its 6 teams close out 2023 and saw 2 of them open up 2024. Let's take a look back at the highlights on this week's Continental Catch Up. The top spot in the division was on the line as Carolina faced Columbus in a 3-3. The Thunderbirds sat 3 points ahead of the Dragons for first place. The first game was in Columbus and the fans had just found their seats before they jumped out of them.
And on our broadcast here, we appreciate you being with us. We're underway. There's a chance in front by Columbus right off the hop. Wickline couldn't come up with it. Puck to the right point. Underwood over to the left side. Shot coming in. They score! Alexander Jamaev with the tip on the wrister from the left point just 16 seconds into the first period. River Dragons strike first. It's 1-0.
That lead didn't last 2 minutes before Nate Keeley tied things up. Then, the Dragons' power play went to work as Josh Petrantonio restored the lead a few minutes before Jamaev potted his second of the night. Yuri Pastuka brought the Birds within 1 in the middle frame, but then the Hats hit the ice.
In over the line, Shinkarik, the end of the slot, looking for Swan. Swan to the left side, wraps it in behind the net. Salak has no stick and missing a glove. Swan in front, here's a chance, Jamaev, and he scores! Alexander Jamaev's got the hat trick!
Columbus held for most of the third, but Carolina made the home crowd sweat.
Forward into the slot, a shot, and it takes a deflection high off of the glass. Clay Keeley controls, bulk will on him. Gets it over to Ford. Ford dancing in a one-timer, and they score! With the man in the box, Eminem empty, Dawson Baker, with 4:29 remaining in the third period, gets his 50th goal of his FPHL career and makes it a 1-goal game here in Columbus.
They couldn't find the equalizer, and Petrantonio hit the empty net to seal the deal. The series shifted to Winston-Salem the next night, and this time, it was Carolina who struck first.
Underwood trying to dump it in. Whiffed. And here come the Thunderbirds the other way. Dominic Dumas dances by him. Dumas backhands one to Salak. They score!
Petrantonio answered late in the opening period to tie the score heading into the break. Jacob Schnapp gave the Thunderbirds the lead back in the middle frame, but in the final minute, Kyle Moore leveled the score again. Less than 2.5 minutes into the third, Columbus took its first lead.
Storjahan wins the draw. River Dragons start with possession. Here's Doe right side. He scores! Austin Doe! Walks it in for the right point. He beats Camilleri high glove and a power play goal for the River Dragons. Makes it 3-2 Columbus.
And then a few minutes later, they got some insurance.
One of the Thunderbirds players went down back there. Fans thought it should have been a tripping call. Instead, it's Ford carrying it up at center, but he turned it over. Back on the right side, here's McDonald. McDonald in, leaving it to Moore. Moore, McDonald in front, chip towards the goal. They score! Deflected in front. Hunter put it towards the net, and then Kyle Moore tips it home. Moore's got his second of the game, and it's now a 2-goal lead for Columbus. It's 4-2.
That goal turned out to be the game winner as Carolina scored a power play goal with the extra attacker for the second straight night, but Columbus holds on to take the outright division lead. The series concluded in a late New Year's Eve affair, the final puck drop of 2023 in the FPHL. Gus Ford opened the scoring early on for the home side, but Alexander Jamaev responded a few minutes later. This time, it was Carolina taking and extending the lead as Salak put the Birds back in front and Ford made it a 2-goal game heading into the intermission. Less than a minute into the second, Austin Doe pulled Columbus within 1, but Carolina's leading scorer had another in him.
Ford has it in the slot, back to Vistuka, now to Baker. Baker throws it into the skates of Ford. He holds Ford, a shot!
There we go.
Trickles in.
That's what we needed. That's what we needed.
A hat trick for Gus Ford, his second of the year.
Jemayev made it a one-goal game heading into the third, and then early in the final frame, Columbus found the equalizer.
But I guess they're basically saying, no, it was not a clearing attempt. So the River Dragons with the power play. Here's a chance for Doe in. Backdoor, they score! A power play goal for Storjahan. Moore was injured right off the face-off. He's back up and okay. He took a stick up high, but the River Dragons score immediately on the power play.
Overtime was all this series needed, and the score remained tied with under 5 to play, but the Thunderbirds found one more.
Whacks it along. Solak gets a touch. Ford trying to get out to Baker. He does on the second chance. Baker waits. He shoots. He scores!
Carolina pulls out the final game of the series to tie the Dragons back up in the points column and regain the division lead. Stop me if you've heard this one before. The Baton Rouge Zydeco visited the Mississippi Coast Coliseum to take on the Seawolves. The teams battled in a 2-game set on Friday and Saturday. Dalton Anderson opened the scoring just over a minute in, but then Baton Rouge took over. Matthias Tellstrom tied the game about 5 minutes before Brendan Hussey gave the Zydeco the lead. Less than a minute into the second, the advantage grew.
Seawolves defense proving strong, but stolen away by the Zydeco. Puck in front of the net, backhanded shot, and just kind of laid in as immediately after Joe Pace hits the celebrating Zydeco player.
But Mississippi battled back as Danny Licio and Yanni Liarakos scored to tie it. Hussey gave his team the lead right back 43 seconds later, but Hugo Koch evened the score in the final minute of the stanza. Past the midway point of the third, Liarakos gave the Seawolves their first lead since the opening period. 17 seconds later, guess who scored again?
They scored again! Must have been off a deflection. They were trying. That's where this forecheck becomes so important to this team. It's so important for this team, and
That's a hat trick.
Mississippi comes back to take game one behind the hat trick from the FPHL's leading scorer. The next night, the first goal of the game came less than 2 minutes in again, but this time it belonged to the roadside.
Kyle Stevens comes away with it. Tries to put it in front. They shoot and score.
But Hugo Koch found the tying goal before the end of the opening period. Noah Robinson scored the only goal of the second shorthanded, and less than a minute into the third, he did it again.
Once again, 1 minute remaining in the holding penalty to David Aslan. Joakim Nielsen hits the deck. They'll get it up. And potential breakaway 2-on-1. Shoot, and they score shorthanded. That is, I believe, Noah Robinson again with a shorthanded goal.
Hussey added another late in the game, and they traded goals in the final minute as Baton Rouge earns the weekend split. As seen here on the PHP Network, the Prowlers ended 2023 with a 3-3 against the Motor City Rockers. Mitch Jones scored the overtime winner in the first game, but Motor City took the next two, including a penalty-filled affair in Fraser on New Year's Eve. The Prowlers then traveled to Mississippi and faced the Seawolves Tuesday and Wednesday, coming away with 6 points and a clean sweep after 2 3-goal wins. Overall, in the Continental Division, 3 players with hat tricks on New Year's Eve weekend, and now their offense skating in 2024. Now that you're all caught up, stay tuned for more action right here on the PHP Network.